All right, and we're back, and we'll see how this one does this time. Sorry about the technical difficulty here, but this is Rocked On Detroit Lions. I'm your host, Will Rock, tonight, and we're going to be talking about the Raiders and the Lions game on Monday night. And again, I apologize about the difficulties, new equipment, new setups. We're working through it. Appreciate your patience. So first thing I wanted to mention is Monday, if you guys are planning on going down to the game, or if you didn't get tickets and you're not going to the game, there is a tailgate that is starting at 2:00 at Grand Circus Park. There is going to be a ton of people down there. It's going to be a great time, whether you're going to the game or not. Bring it. Bring the energy. We need it. Let's show the Lions how much we support them. New feature tonight. If you guys jump in the chat, which you got to give me just a second to pull the chat back out because, like I said, this is a new setup and it's taking me just a minute to get things under control. But anyway, we've got a call-in feature tonight. So once I get the chat open and see who's in, if you guys would like to call in tonight, you can call in and let's talk some Detroit Lions. Let's talk anything you want about this Raiders game. I guess I should be careful there. Not everything you want, just the Raiders game and some other things. Anything you like to talk about Detroit Lions, honestly. Give me just a second. So how's everybody doing this Friday night? Send me a chat. Let me know that you're in so I can actually see it. We don't see anything yet. But we're going to talk Detroit Lions. We're going to talk about how these Lions are going to bounce back in week 8, ride high into the bye week, and bring home the W on Monday night. Electric Monday night. The last time I was at a Monday night game in recent history, because it's been a while, right, that the Lions have had a home Monday night game. 2011, Chicago Bears. The absolute loudest game I've ever been to in my entire life. You want to talk about ears ringing, stands, vibrating. Look, this whole season, we've expected, going to these home games that it's going to be loud and it's going to be intense and there's going to be a lot of false starts by the opposing team. It just has not happened like it did in 2011. We have not broke 120 on the decibel scale yet. And in 2011, I don't think it went below 120 very often. So I don't know what's changed. I don't know if anything's changed inside Ford Field. I know they've done some reconstruction and they've added, quite a new facade, to the interior over the last few years. But I wouldn't think that would deaden the sound too much. So here's what I'm saying. Bring the energy Monday night. Save your voice, wait till they're about to snap the ball a few seconds before, then get loud, because I feel like a lot of people get pumping up early and then they lose their voice. But all right, so here we go. Lions gave up nearly 500 yards of offense to the Ravens last week. Just about anything and everything that could go wrong did. How can they fix it versus the Raiders? Was that just a one-off for the Detroit Lions? I think that's what we're all going to chalk it up to. It's one of those burn the tape type games, right? We don't want to talk about it. We really didn't talk about it much after the game. So here's some questions that the Lions really need to answer and some key matchups that I've come up with. And again, I'm depending on everybody to get their butts in this chat tonight and get on this open line. So here we go. If you want to jump in on the open line, I'm going to open it up right after this segment. Looks like we got a couple of people in. T-Mac. Hey, yo, T-Mac. Nice to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining tonight. Mike Miller, back as always. How you doing, man? So last couple weeks, Mike, we've been kind of hit or miss. We've had some things, that we're trying to work out here with some new equipment, new mics, kind of new everything going on. Still waiting on Andy if he's going to come back and join the show again. So Mike Miller, how about 1-6 last year to possibly 6-2? I'm pumped, man. We're all pumped. Look, the Lions they've totally changed everything this season. They've changed our perspective on this team. They've changed how we feel on a Sunday night. We're no longer, and this is just a joke, kicking the dog and beating the wife, right? That's a joke. But that's how a lot of people felt after a game on a Sunday night. You felt empty. That feeling is gone. And even when we lose a game, you're still optimistic for the next one. Sure, it hurts. You lose these games that you shouldn't lose, but we're on to the next one. All right, so some key matchups tonight. And again, I'll say it one more time for anybody just joining. We do have an active call feature tonight. We're going to get to that in just a minute if you'd like to call in. So my first key matchup is the Lions tight ends versus this Raiders defense. The Raiders are allowing on average 5 receptions and 41 yards a game to tight ends. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot. It's a little bit misleading. 3 teams have put up more than 8 receptions and 56 yards on the Raiders. But they have not seen a top-tier offense this entire season or a top-tier tight end. Now, you could make an argument for Luke Musgrave, but then look at the team that he's on and then look at the type of season that they're having. Laporta is head and shoulders above all of the rookie tight ends, and he's been ranked as the best tight end in the league so far this season a few times. He's up in the top 2, top 3 right now, in my opinion. So at this point in the season, we're expecting great things out of Laporta because we've seen it each and every week. He's only had one off week. And I guess you could say against the Ravens, it may have been his second off week. But then you mix that with Ben Johnson's genius play calling. This matchup should be a win for the Lions. Now, what defense do they play, and how's that going to throw a wrench in it? Well, it's no different than what we're running, the 4-2-5. They run it often. They are rarely in a 4-3 with 3 linebackers. So if you're only going to have 2 linebackers over the middle, that's going to give Laporta, in my opinion, the obvious ability to create some plays. The Raiders defense ranks 9th in the NFL in rushing allowed yard per game with 129 yards allowed per game. So there's the next key matchup, the Lions running game. Our rush attack has got to get going. The problem is we don't have Monty, right? We don't have that guy that can for sure run between the tackles. So with that first matchup, right? First key matchup, Lions tight ends. Let me bounce into the chat and see what everyone's saying. Mike Miller says to me, I give the Ravens staff credit. They were a top run team. They hardly ran the ball. I think was great game plan against us. It was. They read us all day. Maybe they're stealing signs. You know, those Harbaugh brothers, they might have some going on. It's a joke. T-Mac says, I can't wait for the trade deadline to pass. So sick of hearing about it. Yeah, you're going to get a lot this week. It's definitely going to ramp up. What I can tell you is we should be expecting the Lions to be buyers. And if we want to talk a little bit about that tonight, well, we can do that as well. Mike Miller, we're just not the same without Monty. Yeah, we're not. And you clearly have seen it. You know, I should probably put the chat up on this other screen. I was hoping that the YouTube chat would be working, but it's not. But they're all coming into a different one. So I'm going to look at a different screen. When you speak about Monty being out of the game, what are we missing? You know, we're missing that guy that can run between the tackles, somebody that fights for extra yards. Gibbs so far has shown us that he's an outside the tackles kind of runner. But what he did show us in the Ravens game is that he is somebody that can catch the ball. He went for over 100 yards all purpose against the Ravens. It was his best game yet. I think he had 128 all day, actually. And I think it was 60, 68, 60 on the ground, 68 through the air, or vice versa, somewhere in that range. And that's a good mix. Look, if you can get that every week out of a running back, that's wonderful. I mean, that's perfect. That's what this offense needs. And they need it because they need to get this passing offense moving, especially the play action. T-Mac says the Redskins seem to be the best suit trade. Yes, they are. And by Redskins, we're talking the Washington football team. I know that's a tough name to forget. But yeah, the Washington football team, Washington Commanders, the Redskins, whatever you want to call them. I'll always remember them as the Redskins. I mean, that's just what I grew up with. They are the best team to trade with. They've got plenty of options that they really need to unload because there's, heavy cap, considerations for 2024 if they keep them. Or franchise tags. It just makes sense to move on. Mike Miller says 49-0. Will didn't need no signs against little bro. Yeah, I don't know. MSU, they just haven't been the same the last few seasons. It is what it is. Oh no, you don't have to apologize, T-Mac. I'm just giving you some crap, man. It's all right. So anyway, my key matchups for tonight. First one, tight end. I think Laporta is going to have a decent game. So based on the averages, I'm going to say that Laporta is going to go 7 for 65 in a TD. And if he does more than that, That's great. But I think based on the averages, 7 for 65 in the TD. And if we can get that out of him, and then we'll move on to the next key, which is the running game, and we can get something similar out of Gibbs that we saw against the Ravens, I think the Lions will have a pretty good opportunity at winning this game with convincing fashion. Brent DeWitt says, who is our... Let me blow this chat up here. 1 second. I'm struggling for a minute. It says, who is our number 3 running back this week? Ozigbo or Jefferson? I think Jamar has more wiggle and a better chance to break one. Jamar does. He does definitely have that speed factor to him as far as a running back. He can get loose with it. But I don't think that Jefferson is going to be activated this week. And I apologize, I don't have that information handy right now. I really won't know until Monday. But right now, you've got Craig Reynolds, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Ozigbo for sure. Jefferson was activated, I believe, to the practice squad. He'll have to be activated on Monday to be able to be a game time designation. Mike Miller, I like where your head's at. So that's my third key that we'll get to in just a second is contain Crosby. Their defense isn't scary at all. I could agree with that. It's just if you can't contain Crosby, things can get wild in a hurry. All right, so Lions run game versus the Raiders defense. Let's talk about this for a minute. Raiders, like I said, they're giving up on average 105 yards, 1 TD, 4.6 yards per carry average per game. And that's on the ground. And, of course, 32 yards through the air to the running backs. And, again, I have to say it, the Raiders have not faced a true running game so far this season. I mean, you tell me who they faced. Broncos? They didn't have anybody, right? Bills? Who else did they face already? Just double check. I don't think they faced anybody. So they faced the Broncos, the Steelers, the Bills, the Chargers, the Packers, Patriots, and the Bears. So with the Bears, I mean, you have Justin Fields. He's their best running back. That's about the only pure runner they've seen all season. Would you agree with that? I don't see anybody else on any one of those teams that I would be real worried about. So if they haven't faced a true test, maybe Gibbs will have a good game. He needs one. He needs a breakout game. He had a quasi breakout game versus the Ravens. We need him to really do something on the ground. He needs to break his 100. He popped his cherry and got his first TD. It's good to see. It was a nice run too, off the left edge. He loves those outside zone runs. And the Lions, they do well with it when the play action's working, but that's the difficult thing in this game is if Crosby is up in your face and Goff is getting tons of pressure, the play action's not going to be able to work. That's why this run game is so critical to get it going. So there are a few positives, like I said, in the blowout loss to the Ravens last week, and that was Jahmyr Gibbs' performance. Through 7 weeks, Las Vegas, they've allowed the 9th most rushing yards in the league, 903, and the 7th most rushing scores at 9. Along with that, the Raiders are permitted a healthy chunk of yards at, like I said earlier, 4.3 yards a carry. It makes me believe, like I was just saying, that Gibbs is going to have a pretty good day. He's averaging 4.9 yards a carry. So he could be in store for a pretty solid day on the ground. Look, if they can contain this Raiders blitz with Gibbs, so be it. You don't want to blitz on Gibbs. If you let him get outside and you're doing an inside blitz, he's going to hurt you every time. And Gibbs has true speed. All it takes is a little glimmer of hope and he can get gone. And we have yet to see it, but it's coming. All right. Brent DeWitt said agreed. This should be Gibbs' coming out party with Craig hammering up the gut. I like that. I like the 1-2 punch there. Craig Reynolds has shown that he's tough, man. He's tough as nails. And I still can't stop watching that highlight from the Bucs game. I was begging somebody to make that, was it the Shooting Stars type video, where you get some something funny. Something funny's going on, and like they're tumbling through space, and they got the Shooting Stars theme song going on. I wanted someone to make that. That would have been a perfect hit by Craig Reynolds in the Bucs game to make that kind of a funny meme video. We've got a new guy in here. Barry Williams, welcome in. Barry Williams says, picture this. The Lions trade Hendon Hooker to a quarterback needy team like Tennessee. Barry, I don't like that idea. I don't. But you know what? Since you brought up Hendon Hooker, I did do some research like I promised last night. So there's very conflicting information when it comes to these new NFL rules. And something did change in 2022 about having players on NFI versus IR and, you know, how many guys you can bring back. So you can only bring back 8 guys off of IR. And the Lions have used 3 out of those 8. So they have 5 left. They have 5 guys on IR, including Hendon Hooker. But Hendon Hooker is on NFI. And if I read this correctly, Hendon Hooker can, if he doesn't come back by week 11, he will lose a full season, which means the Lions will still have him for 4 seasons, or the rights to him for 4 seasons. From what I read, you have to be activated for at least 6 games throughout the season to accrue a season. And if you guys remember, in the beginning of the season, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell both said they wouldn't do that to Hendon Hooker. But the question is, with all of these injuries, how are they not? Because you would be wasting an opportunity to bring a guy up that you don't need unless Teddy Bridgewater got hurt. Or, and I wasn't going to say this today, but since you just brought it up, Barry, what if the Lions trade Teddy Bridgewater to a quarterback needy team? That's where I think you could see Hendon Hooker gets activated. Light bulbs are going off now, aren't they? I like your style, Barry. You're ahead of me, buddy. All right, so let me move on to the next one. Mike Miller says Gibbs goes for 85 and 45. I like that one. I like that stat. So if I were to throw out the numbers of my guess, it would be pretty close to that. I'm thinking more along the lines of 65 and 35 in a TD. So a little bit lighter, more than 100 AP, but 65 and 35 in a TD. All right, who's next in here? Harley Fife, 000. What does that mean? There is a trade rumor. Maybe I'm a little slow, Harley Fife, but what's 000? What does it mean? All right, next one up is Mike Miller. No, I like having Hooker back in the pocket. Yeah, he's going to be a special quarterback. I watched plenty of tape on him. He was my favorite quarterback in the draft. I will stick to my guns that if he was not hurt, he would have been a top 5 pick in this draft, and I think he would have been the number 2 overall quarterback taken. I'm sure I'll get crucified for that one, but that's just how I feel. Look, he was on his way to winning a Heisman until he tore his ACL. And I do definitely feel that he was a better quarterback than Bryce Young. Stroud, there's an argument there. But Stroud's having beginner's luck right now, too. You know how those quarterbacks are, that other school. All right, so we'll get to my key number 3. And key number 3 is Penei Sewell. Now, Mike Miller already brought it up. You've got to contain Max Crosby. Look, limiting Crosby is going to be easier said than done. But Detroit must make a concerted effort to curtail the production of Crosby. 100%. Whether they're going to do a zone blocking scheme with a lot of chipping or double teaming, they've got to take Crosby out of the game. Mike Miller said it. Look, this Raiders defense isn't that scary. And in the way that their injury report is lining up today, there's going to be a couple of guys banged up. They'll still play, but they're going to be banged up. Marcus Peters is one of them. Crosby's a 2-time Pro Bowl edge defender. The guy plays with such a high motor. I don't know if he ever stops, but he's probably one of the most feared players in the NFL. He's definitely a prolific pass rusher. And he's somebody that's already amassed 6.5 sacks this season, 9 quarterback hits, and 43 pressures. And he still has more than half a season to go. He earned a 91 overall grade from PFF, including a 90.8 pass rush grade this week. That's incredible. So it's goes without saying, why wouldn't the Lions want to trade for a Max Crosby? Has anybody given that any consideration? I, for one, have not. I don't think that Max is on the list. I really don't. I think he's going to cost way too much money to bring in and keep. And I don't know if the Lions are ready to do that when you can get 2 players for the price of 1, albeit they may not be the most dynamic or as, feared as a Max Crosby. The production and the results may be the same. All right, I'm going to make sure that the calling feature is on right now. We're going to take our first caller in just a second. And what you're going to hear when someone calls in is I'm going to mute my mic. I'm going to bring in the caller and make sure they're on. And then I'll bring them in slowly, and we'll take a few questions and see how it goes. All right. So if you'd like to call in, and this is coming through my cell phone, so I can only take one call at a time. If you don't get through, if it rings a few times and goes to voicemail, you don't have to leave a voicemail. Just wait until the call's over, and then you can call in because I'll give a little bit of a break. All right. Number to call in is 313-312-0348. Again, that's 313-312-0348. Before we see this phone tree light up, I'd like to know from you guys in the chat, who is your favorite target for the Lions in this trade deadline? We've talked about Montez Sweat. We've talked about Jonathan Allen, Kendall Fuller. Now I've added Julian Blackmon to my list from the Colts. So there's plenty to pick from. I think the Washington is going to move on from at least 2 of their profile players. Whether the Lions go out and grab them is a whole nother story. We just don't know yet. All right. Key number 4. Goff versus the Raiders defense. I think this one I'm sorry. I skipped over 3, didn't I? My apologies. No, I didn't. I talked about Panay. We'll finish Panay. Look, Panay hasn't allowed a sack all season. He comes up big in big-time games. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a big-time game other than it's Monday night. It's nationally televised. There's really nothing on the line right now other than saving face and not losing on national television. But when you talk about big matchups, this is the biggest matchup I think that Penei Sewell is going to face all season until the playoffs. The good news is he goes up against Aiden Hutchinson week in and week out. So he's getting that heavy bull rush type of edge defender flying at him every single day. Sewell's got to come up big in this one. Let's hope that he keeps his streak alive. But Crosby's also going to work up and down that line. And I expect the Lions to deploy a lot of 12 personnel. And like I said earlier, double team, double up, a lot of chips on Crosby. They've got to cut him off at the knees. They got to make sure that he can't get back to Goff. If Goff gets a lot of pressure, the good news is Goff is one of the best under pressure. The bad news is who's going to be that second or third layer of defense in between Goff? Is it going to be Jahmyr Gibbs? Because I don't think Gibbs is going to win that battle. And I think that's where you're going to have to deploy an extra tight end. Use a lot of motion and bring someone down to crack Crosby. Legally, of course. All right, what's your thoughts on Penei Sewell? Is he going to keep the streak alive? All right. Mike Miller says, Sewell's been getting a lot of holding calls this year. Crosby is a beast. That's a good take, Mike. He has gotten his fair share. The thing, I hate the refs this season, though. I really do. For some reason, every other team is getting the calls, but the Lions, right? The Lions aren't getting any calls. Aiden Hutchinson has been held in just about every game, but the Chiefs, the Ravens were probably the worst, and we're not getting the calls. It's a much different game against the Ravens if we get a few of those calls. So I hear you. Look, Sewell's one of the best at what he does. He's going to get a couple. Limiting Crosby is going to be a problem. It's going to be a test. He's got to keep him in front. He can't let him get around the edge. But if you bring somebody around the edge to chip him, that will help Sewell from having to hold with his right hand. Another one from Mike Miller says, we need offense to put this game away early. Goff, do your thing. Hey, I agree. Put him up fast and don't stop with the gas, right? You got to keep the gas pedal pressed. We're wearing alternate uniforms this week. Thoughts? I'm not a fan of them, says Mike Miller. You know, I am a fan. I got this helmet here. I love it. I love the new decal. Well, the old decal. I've always liked the matte look as far as the color. Now, this helmet may not be a true representation of what they're going to be wearing on Monday, but I can tell you this: when you know the old days of the Oregon Ducks, you know, uniforms, I've always wondered why the NFL hasn't done anything like that. We don't really see anything super flashy, and I would love to see him step up the game over the next couple of seasons and bring in some, you know, brighter, flashier uniforms. But then again, I don't know. Sometimes old school, it means something. You know, little nostalgia, if you will. Mike Miller again. Man, Mike, you are hammering on the chat tonight. We appreciate it. Love it, man. Mike Miller again says, I'm sorry, T-Mac says, I missed the black and blue. Or I missed the black and blue. You know, I wasn't a big fan of the black and blue, but see, I'm a fan of the gray. And not a lot of people like the gray uniforms. I love the all gray. I'd love to see him do something like, you know, full army fatigue or something like that. I think that'd be sweet. All right, let me get back to my keys here. So, Goff versus the Raiders defense. You know, the one stat I didn't pull up, which I should probably pull up right now, is the passing stats for the Raiders, for the defense. Give me just a second. I'll pull it up. Come on now. All right, we don't have any calls yet. Let me throw out the number again. If you guys want to call in and talk about it, the number to dial is 313-312-0348. You can get on the line and tell us your piece. You know, tell us what you're thinking about this Lions and Raiders game. All right, so the Raiders defense, when it wants to load, it's being finicky. I think I already mentioned earlier in the injury report that, matter of fact, let me jump back into the injury report real quick, because if not everybody was, you know, saw the video earlier, this is definitely a key to the game too. So Jimmy Garoppolo made it back to practice today. A day ago, Raiders coach Josh McDaniels was hopeful that Jimmy would, you know, be able to give it a go on Monday. And with Jimmy in practice today, that really gives him, you know, the line to start on Monday. And I feel like that's the best opportunity for the Raiders to even have a chance. I don't even know who their backup is. I didn't even care to look. But given the Raiders, you know, their best competitive chance with Garoppolo, it kind of changes things. But the Lions are going to be prepped either way, just like Dan Campbell said. It doesn't matter who's in the game. They're going to, you know, be ready to go. And as I mentioned a little earlier, starting cornerback Marcus Peters missed practice on Thursday, but he was back on Friday. Now, he has a back issue. He was limited today, but they do get an extra day to get these game designations in, and, you know, an extra day of therapy. And they've got a day of travel. I'm not sure if they're traveling Saturday or Sunday or if they've already left today. Nate Hobbs is getting an opportunity to come back. He, is one of their best cornerbacks. He's had an ankle injury now for about 4 weeks. And he's been limited the past 2 days, but he's trending on getting back for Monday night. The one that I really liked, and I don't like injuries, but the matchup, I guess you could say I really liked, was linebacker Divine Diablo. He's battling an ankle. He was missing from Raiders camp today. So if he can't go, Luke Masterson is most likely to start in his place. And I love that for Laporta. That just gives him that much more opportunity over the middle. There were a couple of notable players for the Lions today in the practice report or participation report. First, we had 2 players who sat out. Thursday, they were upgraded to limited today, which was phenomenal. We're getting Benito Jones back and Malcolm Rodriguez, which we know Malcolm is a bull in the middle of that defense, and we need him in. They were limited, like I said today, but they're trending that they're going to play on Monday night. So that's a very important step, obviously, for them to get back on the field. Secondly, there were no new additions this Friday for once. And that's great because, as you know, last week we had Jerry Jacobs pop up. And that hurt not having Jerry in last week. Even though I called him a liability the first couple of weeks of the season, he totally turned his game around. We need him in. So having him as a full participant today, he's obviously expected to be back in the starting lineup come Monday night. The 3 that still remained out, which were a little worrisome, was Jonah Jackson and David Montgomery and Frank Ragnow. The thing about Frank Ragnow is he usually takes Fridays off. And this week he had Thursday and Friday off, which is not normal. With the calf injury that's popped up with Ragnow, maybe he just took an extra day because they had an extra day between game time. I expect Frank the Tank to get in. I do not expect Jackson and Montgomery to play out for obvious reasons. I would say it would be a fair question, fair to question Ragnow's ability to play on Monday, but at this point, I'm really not. Personally, I think he's going to be in. All right. So what's everybody else have for some questions? And what are you thinking of your specific keys outside of Jameson Williams needing to catch some balls? We really need JMO to get going. All right, Barry Williams said Dante Jackson is a cheaper cornerback or DJ Shark out of Carolina. If I understand what you're saying, Barry, so Dante Jackson for cornerback depth or bring back DJ Chark from Carolina. Look, we know what DJ Chark can do. And for that reason, and he knows the offense, I would say if we're going to bring in a receiver, it would make sense, but it not at no $10 million a year or whatever he wants. Dante Jackson, he's not a bad option. I'd say they're both good. T-Mac says he just got his all gray 32 from Brian Branch jersey. That's awesome, man. The Color Rush. Yes, Color Rush jersey. Ted Boss says, I love the black and blue, but we didn't see it often. Yeah, it was one of those alternate jerseys, and I only seen it a handful of times, but it was one of my favorites too. Wasn't one of my favorites. The gray was one of my favorites. All right, so just what I was saying. Ted Boss says, how do you think JMO will do this week? Well, I think that's the question everyone's still asking. Still scratching their heads about JMO. I've seen comments this week that he's got bricks for hands. He's immature. Doesn't have chemistry. Speedy Gonzalez with no arms. I mean, I've seen it all. And look, I don't know how much longer we're going to give JMO a pass. And I understand there's a lot of Lions fans that just think that he's going to be great and he's going to, give us that dynamic in this offense that we're missing. And he can. He has the legit talent to do it. He, for some reason, is just not doing it. There was a press conference this week between Jared Goff and Valenti, I believe. Phone conference, my apology. And the question came up, like, what's going on with JMO? I can't remember it word for word, but in a nutshell, Goff just said that JMO missed a lot of practice. And because he missed a lot of practice reps, that chemistry is slow to grow. I mean, you look at St. Brown. Look at Josh Reynolds. I mean, Josh and him have been around for a long time together. Look at Khalif Raymond, 2 seasons, 3 seasons. JMO's been around for 2 seasons. Now, albeit he's only been playing like the last 12 months. There should be some better chemistry. And I'm not going to go into a big JMO rant, but look, he's got to perform this week. He has to. They're going to need him. If the game gets out of control and the Lions get up by a lot, that's the opportunity to start feeding the kid. I mean, eventually when you throw him enough balls, he's going to catch one, right? I mean, even a broken clock is right twice, a day. JMO needs to get in. So here's my prediction. It's going to be ultra low for JMO because I don't have confidence right now. I'm going to give him 2 catches, 30 yards, and potentially 20 yards on the ground. I would love to see an extra 0 behind one of those numbers. I just don't, I don't know. I don't see it. Lion Syndicate jumped in, so let's go. Yeah, let's go. We'll take another call here in just a second, or our first call. I haven't seen it show up yet. Give me just a second. I'll give you the number one more time. And Lion Syndicate said, Jerry's still a liability, but he's better than Will Harris. I can agree with that. I mean, Jerry, he has his ups and downs, and he's just had better ups the last 4 weeks that he's played. Mike Miller says, I have to. Oh, I got to blow this up. What's going on here? I have to make a thought admission as a Lions fan. I couldn't stand Anzalone. I was wrong. A lot of people were wrong. The only reason why I thought that Anzalone coming back was going to be good for this defense is when I took a look at what he did the season before. Before last season, I want to say he had like a 15 or 17% missed tackle rate. And last season, that dropped all the way down to like 7.6%. He was head and shoulders above where he was the season before, which proved to me that he was making some firm adjustments in his game. But then if you looked at the trend from the first 6 weeks of the season to the last 11 weeks of the season, 2 totally different Anzalones or Anzalones. And the reason why is the first 6 weeks, Aubrey Pleasant had that team all screwed up. Anzalone was trying to direct every single rookie and every single player on that field to do what they were supposed to do. He couldn't play. He couldn't play with his hair down. Literally, he's got long, beautiful hair, like they say. He couldn't play with his hair down. In the moment that Aubrey Pleasant was removed, Anzalone was able to do his thing. They dumbed the defense down a little bit. They were able to play, a little bit more vanilla scheme, and that's where you saw the difference. And as they got closer to week 9, week 10, man, they really started to light it up. Ted Boss says, last half. Hold on a sec. I don't know why my chat's doing this. 1 second. All right. Last half of last year, he was really good too. He seems to be on every play. Yep, we're talking about Anzalone. Not trading for Sharks as Lion Syndicate. I wouldn't believe so either. I like the thought, though. I like the thought, that bringing back a familiar player that knows the scheme and somebody that can help take top off a defense and is better than Marvin Jones. I do like that thought. I like where he's going with that. John Goodwin says, I don't think JMO is grasping the complicated play scheme. I think you're 100% right, John. I mean, the things that we were hearing last season was that he didn't know the playbook. And that's why he wasn't getting targeted. Not only did the chemistry not happen between Goff and JMO last season, but when he did get in, he did not know the playbook. And then he threw some temper tantrums on the sideline when he wasn't getting targets. And then he got really pissed off. That one touchdown got called back for a hands to the face call. I can't remember who was it on, Sewell or somebody, or Decker. I think it was on Decker. And he threw a temper tantrum on the sideline then again too. He's ripping his coaches. And you just can't do that. Number one, you're a rookie. You shouldn't do that. Number two, you haven't done anything. You know, this is the show me league. Can't talk about it. You got to do it. That's why I talk about it. I can't do it. Lion Syndicate says should have gotten Van Jefferson. Expand on that one for me. Should have got Van Jefferson. Yeah. Expand on that one for me. I don't even know who Van Jefferson is. That name's not clicking with me right now. All right. So if you want to call in, we're going to try it one more time. The phone number is 313-312-0348. 313-312-0348. Just make sure my phone's actually on and I'm not missing the calls. All right. So, look, when we're getting into this game on Monday, I've already mentioned a few predictions. I think that this defense is going to come out hot and fast. I really do. I think that they're going to be playing with their hair on fire. They're going to want to set the tone early. I feel like Aaron Glenn knows that he needs to dial up some schemes that are going to... Oh, hold on one second. 312, 313, 3. There we go. He's got to dial up some schemes and some play calls. They're going to get to the quarterback. And far often we're seeing, you know, a couple of guys rushing, but we're not seeing enough behind them. They did really good against the Falcons, where they would rush 3 or 4 and then fill in because they were in a nickel. They were in a 4-2-5. So you'd rush the 4 and then you'd have a nickel, you know, like a Brian Branch or, you know, Malcolm Rodriguez or whoever was, you know, playing up in that nickel slot, rush behind and fill the gaps. And that was able to flush the quarterback out of the pocket to the other side. And that's why they had so much success. We haven't seen it since. And that's what I don't get. He does great for a couple of games in a row. And then it's like he gets scared and dials it back. Look, if something's working, keep it working. You know, it's like they always say, you don't fix it if it ain't broke. Well, don't break it if you've already fixed it. I feel like he's just breaking stuff for no reason. They should have attacked the Ravens. You know, just kept rushing and blitzing every play. All right, Barry Williams says, do you think they had not anticipated Barnes playing so well when they drafted Jack Campbell? You know, that's a good point, because AG and Calvin Shepard said all offseason long that Barnes was a new player, like totally different. He was picking everything up much quicker in this third season than he had the previous 2 seasons. And he was playing a lot faster, and he was able to read the offenses a lot quicker. And I think that's, you know, a testament to Barnes really putting his nose into the playbook. And let's just call it for what it is. When Jack Campbell was drafted, I bet you Barnes got after it just a little bit harder, or a lot harder, and really started working at his craft. And I'm not saying that he wasn't in the offseason. I just feel like that probably amplified him a little bit. He didn't want to lose his spot. But you're right. Barnes is playing well. Way better than he has in the last couple of seasons. Mike Miller says, home game before the break, we come out on fire, 2 turnovers, 4 sacks, Raiders are trash. You know, I like the last statement. The Raiders are having a bad season. They really are. They're all over the place. Garoppolo's not the answer. And their defense is, you know, half loaded for bear. Crosby is like a quarter of that. They have some pieces. Look, there's no slouch games in the NFL. It's any given Sunday. And I think the Lions know that all too well. And as Lions fans, I think we know that all too well. If you overlook an opponent, that's when, you know, you're quote unquote kicking the dog at the end of the night, because you overlooked an opponent and they come in and they smacked you in the mouth. I don't think that's going to happen in this case. It's Monday night in downtown Detroit. Good weather. It's Halloween the next night. It's going to be a lot of characters out on Monday. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be an amazing environment. We're ready. We're ready. And you know what? The Lions are doing great in the national audience. They're winning games that no one ever gave them a chance to win. And that's going to continue on Monday night. All right, we've got about 10 more minutes to go here. So here's what I'd like to know. Actually, let me give a little statement here. If you guys haven't subscribed and you're watching the channel right now, just take a look below and see if you have. If you haven't, remember that all of you that are watching and listening, you're the ones that are supporting and sponsoring this channel. And we've appreciated everything that everyone has done for us this last week. Our channel skyrocketed. We can't thank you enough. But we're always going to ask because we want to have everybody along for this ride with us. Our channel's only going to get bigger and better. We're only going to be providing bigger and better content. And as you support us, YouTube will support us, which means that we can do more. So we hit 1,000 subscribers and it all happened overnight. And because of that, we're going to be giving something away here in the next week. When we do these live shows, when we post videos, the more comments that we get, the more views that we get, that's great. But it's the comments that allow us to pick somebody to send out a gift. And if you know, from what we've done this spring, our channel gave out like 50 different prizes, tons of prizes, tickets, you name it. The training camps that were so full and everything sold out in less than an hour or two online, you couldn't get tickets, but we had like 20 tickets and we gave a lot away. And we're going to do it again next year. So stick with us, give us a like, share, and subscribe, and join us every Friday and every time after the game. We go live about an hour and a half after the game, and we'll do our breakdown afterwards. Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of prep for tonight because we were trying to do something different. We were hoping to get a lot of call-ins, but I think we have one coming in here in just a minute. So we'll see. He was supposed to be a guest on tonight's show. For some reason, we were having some difficulty with the technology. Gotta love technology. But Monday night, it's a big time in Detroit. Like I said earlier on the previous show that I started, 2 o'clock, Grand Circus Park. There's going to be a big tailgate going on. Everyone's invited. It's something that the city's putting on. Eastern Market will not be opened as early as expected, so there's not going to be much going on in Eastern Market. Doesn't mean that people won't be tailgating there, but there just won't be a ton going on. There is also the Tub Gators tailgate. I'm not sure, who's all going or who's all invited. I don't know if they've shared it out there publicly, but if they have, I will go ahead and post it on the Rock Down Detroit Lions Facebook page. And if I can post it to the YouTube, I will do that too. Let me get to the chat here. Mike Graff says Monday Night Football. I got to pull it over. Sorry. He says Monday Night Football is get back to where we were. Get the win before the bye. I'm not mad at the loss with the Ravens. I'm mad at the way it was a blowout. I haven't given up on them. That's a great statement, Mike. I mean, look, we know that we expected a few losses this season. I put out my early predictions and I said the Lions were going to go 12-5. I had the Ravens as a loss. I had the Chiefs as a loss. I had the Cowboys as a loss. And there was a couple other ones in there. I think I had the Vikings towards the end of the season as a loss. There was one other. But then I redid my predictions after like week 4, week 3. And I had them going 15-2. I removed the Ravens. And I think I had the Chiefs and I had the Chiefs and the Cowboys. So we still have a few games ahead of us that we're potentially going to lose. Hey, send me a chat message if anyone's tried to call and it's taking you to a different phone number. It shouldn't be doing that. Let me make sure I know my own phone number. All right, 313-312-0348. 313-312-0348. Yeah, I'm sorry, Derek. I had it backwards. 313-312-0348. All right. So, look, we're going to expect to have a couple of losses this season. Dan Campbell said it a couple weeks back that every team is going to go through a tough start or a tough phase. Every team goes through it. Whether it is, losses, injuries, you name it, they're all going to happen. All right, we got a caller coming in. Give me just a second.
Yo. Hello? Man.
Can you hear me? You got me?
I can hear you now. What's up, man?
All right. Give me 1 second. I'll bring you in. I don't know if anybody can hear you out there, but let me make sure that it's on. All right. So we got a caller on the line. The first caller to call in. Who do we have on the line tonight?
This is Derek with Lion Syndicate. How you doing, Will?
Hey, Derek from Lion Syndicate. Thank you for calling, man. And so Derek was going to be a guest on tonight's show. He's been a critical part of our success lately. He's been an awesome guy to work with and giving us some good ideas. So, Derek, what do you got to say about this Raiders game coming up?
I'm not worried about the Raiders game, Will. First of all, thank you for the kind words, my man. We got to handle business. And we have to handle business. We can't let this game get away from us. I don't think that's going to happen. But I hate to say this, but I'm more concerned with the day after. I'm more concerned with the trade deadline. Brad Holmes he's doing what he usually does, keeping stuff close to the chest, which is what he should do. Any good general manager would do that. But I feel like we got a chance here, a real opportunity. And I want him to make the right decision at the trade deadline. But as far as the Raiders, we got to keep Devontae Adams in check. Jimmy G is supposed to be playing. He's a turnover machine. Keep an eye on Max Crosby and, get back to where we were before the horrendous showing that was the Raiders game. But I think we got this, man. We moved to 6-2. We head to the bye week with the best record that we've had in probably 6 or 7 years, man.
Yeah, it's definitely been an incredible year to start. And I think you're right, man. I mean, all those fine points you just hit, all those keys to the game are exactly what needs to happen. But you're talking about the trade deadline. And if you don't mind, why don't you tell us what's on your mind about the trade deadline and what do you expect to happen? You expect the Lions are buyers, right? I think we both do. Are they buyers on Sunday at 1 like I called, or is he going to push it till 4 p.m. on Tuesday?
You know what? Brad likes to make moves late. And I say that I think the TJ Hawkinson deal happened in the early afternoon. So I'm going to say that because of our game Monday, Brad Holmes is going to make a move in the later half of Tuesday, but obviously before the trade deadline. So I think we hear about it probably as the trade deadline approaches. So I'm thinking maybe 2, 3, 4-ish, we hear something, but we got to be buyers. You have to be buyers. Everybody knows, they know my channel, and they know that I am talking about getting to the quarterback. And we don't have, in my opinion, we have according to PFF, the most pressures in the league, but we're not getting home. We rank in the middle of the pack when it comes to sacks. And I think we got to give Aiden some help. We got to finish, man. When we get to the Eagles and the 49ers and stuff like that, we've got to be able to pressure those guys. So I think that Brad is a buyer. Who? My guess is going to be somebody from Washington. I'm thinking Chase Young, Montez Sweat. But if I had to pick one, I'm going to say it's Chase Young, man. We take a swing for Chase Young at the trade deadline. Maybe Brad Holmes has something else, but that's my call.
Yeah, we know you love Chase Young, and look, I couldn't agree more. You know that I'm all in on defensive end, defensive tackle because of what you just said. We got all the pressure, we're just not getting home. And look, you can pressure all day, but when you give 9.24 seconds to Lamar Jackson in the pocket last weekend, it didn't matter how many pressures we had. He had all day to throw. And then you make a non-pocket passer look like Tom Brady for, a half of a football game. It blew me away. And that's the one thing I've been saying since last year too, is you can pressure all day. If you are not changing the game on third down, you're not going to win games. So we got a couple of questions I think that just popped in. Comment here from Ted Boss says, I like to see the Lions pick up a defensive end to complement. And hold on one second. I got to blow it up. Compliment and free up Hutch so he can do his work. And I would agree with that. Look, if you can bring the pressure from both sides, you're going to have a better opportunity. The one thing that I've mentioned to Derek here at Lions Syndicate is, think about this too. Putting a defensive tackle next to Hutch and you collapse an entire side of an offense, that pushes the ball to the other side and you're going to push the ball where they don't want to be. What do you got to say to that, Derek?
Yeah. Well, I got to say, man, you and I talk extensively off air, and I agree with you 100%. And my thing is, we got a guy, and I've been hearing from my comment section that obviously he's not ready, and that's Broderick Martin. Yeah. He's been inactive, not even in a Lions uniform for 7 games. We traded up to get this guy. It's time to see what he can do. And if we're going to trade for a defensive tackle, the only one I can see us getting is Jonathan Allen under contract for 2.5 more years, so he'll be a mainstay for our team. But I really, really feel that we got to get somebody to book in Hutch. You can see how tired he is. And I think if you have somebody closing in the outside, you're going to force them up in the middle. Then you're going to give Aleem McNeil, Benito Jones, whoever is in there, you're going to give them a chance to make that tackle, get that sack. And I think that's why, for me, it's so important to have somebody on the outside of Hutch. But I can see your point as well. My only issue with that, Will, is we traded up to get a guy who hasn't seen the field in the regular season, and I got a slight problem with that, man. I feel like, why waste draft capital when you wasted? You already traded up to get Broderick Martin.
And I 100% understand that too. It's the thing that I see is maybe we don't have a defensive tackle that is that elite type leader, right? Aleem McNeil is not an elite leader yet. Isaiah Buggs, great character guy, probably not an elite leader per se, as someone that can do it all, but also teach it all. If they were to bring in somebody that was an elite leader as a defensive tackle, like a Jonathan Allen, or I just saw someone else say Ndamukong Suh, that knows how to teach these young guys, and you can teach a Broderick Martin a few tricks. Now you're going to elevate his game, and he's going to be all that much better for it. So maybe Broderick's just a little bit raw. You know how raw athletes are. They take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So, look, we're all in agreement. Yeah. Mike Miller brought up a good point, too. He's saying, think of Clowney and how he helped the Browns. Chase Young does the exact same thing, and I think you're right on the money there.
Well, you know what, man? As far as what you're saying, I agree with you 100%, man. And I just got a problem. I have an issue because, Will, we've been in the bottom of the basement for so long, and we got a real opportunity. And I think this is only the start of what is to come for the Detroit Lions. And I don't want them to waste or blow any draft picks or sell the farm. That's not what I want my team to do. But I want them to take advantage of this opportunity. They're going to have the first time that Aaron Rodgers has been gone, and even before he left, we were owning him. Dan Campbell is 3-1 against Aaron Rodgers, so we were doing what needed to be done. But we got a real opportunity, and I just don't want to squander it. Although I do believe that the Lions are going to be around for a while, I'm just like, why not take hold of this opportunity and make things better? But I tell you what, man, I'm gonna let you go. Let another call come in the line. Just want to say, man, that it's a pleasure to have you in this space because you bring a different dynamic than we all bring. I love the stats. I love the analytical nature, and it's a pleasure to have you in this space, man. Welcome to the space, and everybody subscribe to Rock On Detroit Lions because this guy's doing big things, man. I appreciate you, Will.
Hey, appreciate you, Derek, and thank you, guys. Please check out Lions Syndicate. Derek, pleasure having you on the line tonight. Take care.
Absolutely, man. Yep, take care.
Bye-bye. So there you go. Caller number 1 on Rock On Detroit Lions is a fan favorite. We love Lions Syndicate and what they're doing. They have a few channels out there. And if I could remember them all, I'd say them all right now. So if Derek, if you hear this and you're able to pop it into the chat and let everybody know, I think it's Sports Detroit or Detroit Sports Syndicate is his other channel. So great guy and phenomenal knowledge. Does an excellent job at reporting everything going on Detroit Lions and other sports. So as you guys have heard, trade deadline is looming. And I'm considering that Sunday, since I'll be down in Detroit Monday, Sunday, I'm probably going to do a trade deadline show. Maybe Derek will get on with that. I don't know. We'll see if he's not busy, but we've got a full day of football going on, and I'm ready to see who's going to be sitting on Sunday. And based on who's sitting, I'm going to make my predictions on who's getting traded. So if anyone else wants to come in on the call tonight, I'm going to open it up for one more caller. We're already over the hour mark on this show tonight. And I appreciate everybody in the comment section. Man, you guys have done an excellent job. The wealth of knowledge from these Lions fans. And they really help the show move with how much comments they get. So I'm going to back up into the chat for just a second here. And Mark Graff said, I was thinking of Sue also coming back. He stated he wanted to play with a contender team again. You know, Sue kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, the way that he left and the things that he did on the field when he was a young Lion, but all things forgiven. I think that he would be a great addition this late in the season, but I don't know if he's really going to be able to string together 10 games, 9-10 games with a lot of persistent ability about him anymore. He's old. You got to remember, he's kind of an old hat now. That doesn't mean he doesn't still have it, but he's someone that's going to get his rest during the week, and he's going to be in unlimited plays too. He's not going to be a 3-down DT anymore, in my opinion, and he could change that, with whatever team he ends up on. Matter of fact, we could look at the Eagles stats, but I'm not going to do it tonight. Christine Huell says, I believe Sue is unstable. Lions don't need him. Yeah, I think that the old Sue was a little unstable. He was a hothead, but you know what? Those are the guys that love to compete, and he really just wanted to compete, and he wore it all on the field. Did some stupid stuff, cost us some games, probably cost us a playoff game, but he was a competitor, and he wanted to be the best, and he wanted to kill the quarterback. Kind of back when you were allowed to. I mean, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago that you could really get after the quarterback and not get, 15 flags a game for it. But I hear you, Christine. You just don't want to upset this locker room. And that's the biggest piece to this team doing well for years is keeping the chemistry alive, keeping the culture alive, and having like-minded individuals in the locker room. All right. John Goodwin says today is go time now, not tomorrow. Yeah. Just like Derek just said, squandering our ability to do great things would be a waste of a season. Coming out the gates, 5-1, nobody expected it. And now we're sitting at an opportunity to go up 6-2 into the bye and come back healthy and make a true run for what could be an epic season. So, all right, one more chance, 313 or 31. See, I already forgot my own number again. 313-312-0348. We're going to leave the line open for another 60 seconds and see if anyone would like to call in. If not, like I said, Sunday, I think that I'm going to go ahead and do a trade deadline show. I might do it live. I might not. So look for it. It'll be after 1 o'clock anyway. It'll probably be sometime after halftime of the 1 p.m. games, because that way I'll get a good taste of who's not playing or who's playing limited snaps. And that'll give me a good idea of who's on the move potentially. My thought process, and I'll leave this with you for the next show on Sunday, is I'm a big proponent of Jonathan Allen. And Derek knows this from our conversation this week, that I think that if you put a defensive tackle next to Hutch, that this defense is going to have a much better time at getting to the quarterback. And I'd rather see one half of the defense collapse the pocket and then you push it to the other side. See, I don't care about stats. I don't care about individual stats. I don't care about Hutch getting a bunch of stats. I care about the team getting stats. Production versus stats. Hive defense. Everybody works together. You corral them, right? You push the defense. You push the offense where they don't want to be. If they're trying to go left, you want to push them right. And then you push them right into your other guys. Look, Kaminsky's a dog too. He's no slouch on that other side. And if we get Houston back, there's another opportunity. What I'm worried about, and I said this the other day, is that I'm worried that Brad Holmes is going to look at the IR list and who's coming back and think that, well, I might be getting these guys back. CJ Gardner-Johnson might be coming back. James Houston might be coming back, but you just don't know. And we just saw this happen with Mosley, and I called it. And I said, why would you let Starling Thomas go if Mosley's not able to suit up by week 1 or 2? They should have put Mosley on reserve pup, all hindsight 2020, right? You should have put him on reserve pup, kept Starling Thomas, and we wouldn't be down a cornerback right now that was playing lights out in the preseason. And then Mosley, does what he does, unfortunately tearing his other ACL. And yeah. So I don't want to see that happen again. I don't want to play the what if game. Derek said it again too. Don't squander it. You have an opportunity. John Goodwin saying it. Time is now, not tomorrow. And I'm a firm believer in that. If you can do it now, do it now. Don't wait. All right, John said, do it live, looking at who's playing and who's sitting. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. If you guys want to join me on Sunday, I'm going to throw it up. If you click the notification bell, you'll know when I go live. Otherwise, if you join Rocked On Detroit Lions on Facebook, I always put some notifications there. I'll share it there. Sometimes I'll do the everyone, and you'll get notifications that way too. We've got a few socials, so you can join them all. All the links are in the description of the video description that you're on right now, and check us out. We'd love to have you in. All right. Well, I think that's it for tonight's show. Thanks, Mike Miller. Mike said, great show again, Will. Not bad for a, really bleak prep type of show. I was hoping to get what I got tonight, which was a lot of chat. And it was great. And I appreciate you guys. This show is not good without you. So you've got to come back every week. You've got to come back, every time we're on, if you can. And we understand family first. We get it. But we should be your second family, right? No, I'm just kidding. We only get you for like 20 weeks out of the season. And then the rest of the time, it's like filler. So, look, we'll see you next time. As always, go One Pride. Go Detroit Lions. And I'll see you Sunday. I'll make it happen. I'll do it on Sunday. All right, y'all. Take care. And thanks again, everybody in the chat. Excellent job at feeding it tonight to keep the show moving along. All right, go One Pride. See you later.